Today's lesson I'm going to entitle Practical Problem Solving to address a project in Linux. And our project today is related to using pipes, standard output redirection, and regular expressions to solve a problem related to finding services on our system. Let's just read the project description. A staff member has requested a list of the names of services recognized by your current Linux image. So there's a file named Etsy Services, and that is the file that will contain the pertinent information. However, the data in that file isn't organized in a way that will easily answer the staff member's needs. So we're going to have to do some parsing through that information, reorganizing it in a way so that its final format will be useful for the staff member. Now, there are some restrictions on our work. The entire task must be accomplished without using any intermediary files, and each service should only be listed once. We are allowed to capture our final results in a text file, and that name is given to us, uniqueservices.txt. We should locate this in our home directory. There should not be any blank lines or comment lines in our file. So that whole specification has basically been drilled down into a set of objectives. So first, we're going to extract all the service names from the file. In order to do this, I'm thinking, we need to understand the file format. And we might need to look at a portion of the file to come to that understanding. Perhaps that file format can be determined by finding a man page for that file, like in section 5 of the Unix man system. Second objective, sort the names alphabetically, removing any duplicates. So we should ponder what Linux command is available to us to do sorting, and also to find unique items in that sorted output. The third objective, removing any blank lines or lines that don't begin with a letter of the alphabet, may be the job of regular expressions, since we have been told that, sort of maybe a little hint to us, that regular expressions are going to come into play as part of this project. So when you're doing projects for either a class assignment or at your work location, there's often little, tidbits of information that are sprinkled throughout the problem specification that you should learn to pick up on and use as ways to, jumpstart your thinking. We're going to capture the final output to a file named unique services. That probably is a job for output redirection. So we will look at that, and we're going to count the lines in the file using a conditional command that's only executed if the previous combined commands are successful. Sounds to me like a job for that double ampersand. So remember, command 1, double ampersand, command 2 is a way to do anding, so that the second command is only executed if the first command executes successfully, i.e. returns a success code for its exit code. So let us carve away into this problem, maybe solving just little tidbits of it at a time. That's another beauty of working in the command line system in Linux. We don't have to eat the whole elephant in one bite, so to speak. We can take little parts of our problem and prove in or solve those small parts, and then build a little further and a little further until we've completed the entire solution. So here we are at our command line. I think the first thing that is important for us to do is to look at the etc services file and get a strong feel for the format of that file. So what's at our disposal to figure out a little bit about this file? Well, we can look at the file itself. Maybe look at the last few lines in the file. Oh, there's a command that we can do that with, but maybe it just doesn't come to mind immediately. But fear not, because there are tools within Linux that we can use for investigatory discovery. And one of those is apropos. Apropos, same thing as man-k, right? So man-k, and we could say, we were looking for the last part of a file. So are there any hints here? Blaster. Tail, that's it. Output the last part of files. So I could tail etc services. Let's do that. And when we give nothing as a parameter to tail except the file itself, we automatically get the last 10 lines in the file. And we see that some of those lines are blank. This looks like a comment. And then we also have some data lines. So in general, it looks like we've got 3 columns going on here. Some names. Looks to me like maybe some port numbers and a transport layer protocol. And in some cases, we have a 3rd column, and other times we don't. So, Can we learn anything else about this services file? Maybe in the man page system, remember from Etsy password that the command PASSWD was in section 1, but the password file itself was in section 5, right? So files are in section 5. So let's look and see if we have some information on the services file. Oh, good, we do. Services is a plain ASCII file, provides a mapping between some human-friendly text names for internet services and their underlying assigned port numbers and protocol types. Hey, that seems familiar. That's what I was guessing when I looked at the file itself. The presence of an entry for a service in the services file does not necessarily mean that it's currently running on the machine. That doesn't seem like it applies for solving this problem, but it is interesting to know. And now, looking down a little bit further, we can see there's the service name, the port protocol, and any alias. Okay, and the service name should begin in the first column, so that might be important for us. And it can be any printable character, not a space or a tab. Okay, so that was gathering some information that may be helpful to us as we solve this problem. So let's just chip away at it. We can cat Etsy services and just carve out that first column, because one of the objectives was to extract all the service names from the file. So extract, carve out, similar concept. I know I can do that with the cut command. And cut actually uses as its field separator white space by default, so I won't have to put any extra special things in there. I just want field number 1. Let's see what I get. Okay, lots of field number 1s, but I also got this blank line and comment lines. So I've made it, a little ways into solving my problem, but not completely, but, I'm making progress. So I understood the file format. I got that service name extracted from the file. Let's look at maybe sorting. And I'm supposed to sort the names alphabetically and remove any duplicates. Well, there happens to be an option to sort unique. Maybe I didn't remember that fact. If that is true that I didn't, I could look in the man page for sort and see if there is anything for unique. And oh, lo and behold, -u outputs only the first part of a equal run. Okay, so it can be used with -c or without. It says without -c, output only the first of an equal run. So now I think I will go back to this and sort -u, and maybe just for temporary purposes while I'm going along here, I'm going to use the pager command to give me the output, one page at a time so I can have a look at it. So I've still got, some of this commentary stuff here, but now it looks like I've got nice things in alphabetical order, and just as an sort of eyeball, informal kind of review, it seems that I have unique lines of data going through from one thing to another. So now comes the last few criteria in my job, and that is to remove those blank lines or lines that don't begin with a letter of the alphabet, and to capture the output to a file named uniqueservices.txt. And then, in addition to that, I've got to count the lines using the ability to run that conditional only if the first part of the command was successful. So, interestingly enough, I don't exactly have to solve these last criteria in the order presented. So if one of these seems maybe a little bit easier or more straightforward for me to do, I can experiment and do that. Let us do that. So rather than having everything fly to the screen like this, I can use output redirection. And let's redirect that output to uniqueservices.txt, which will be in my home directory because that's where I am right now. And do I have unique services? I do. It was created, look at the time here, it was created right now, okay, and it is 4,565 characters in size, and I can use the tail command with unique services to look at the last 10 lines. That looks what I expect it to look like. It's looking sort of good so far. I can use the head command to look at the beginning of that file. Oops. It would also help if I typed it correctly. And there it is. Now, this does illustrate the fact that I have some more work to do because I've got some blank lines and comment lines here. But I'm working my way through the problem. Let's go back through. So we've output the contents of Etsy services. We've carved out field 1. We're sorting and taking the unique entries, redirecting that output to uniqueservices.txt. Now, if I wanted at this point to count the lines in the file using a conditional command that is only executed if the previous command is successful, I could do that, remember, with this double ampersand construct. So everything to the left of the double ampersand is command 1, and anything to the right would be command 2. So if command 1 finishes successfully, what do we want to do? We want to get the number of lines in unique services. And here is our intermediary answer. Now this is the number of lines including blank and commentary lines. So to complete this problem to the letter, we're going to have to solve that last little bit. Remove any blank lines or lines that do not begin with a letter of the alphabet. This is a job for a matching command. So, if you can't recall, remember there's man-k again. So, what are all the different commands at our disposal that have to do with matching? We can look down through and then something will hit us and say, oh yeah, I learned that before. Grep and grep. Print lines matching a pattern. That is going to be useful to us. So we've jogged our memory now. We can look in the man page and see that the grep command prints lines matching a pattern. Well, what is that pattern? The pattern can be a set of characters, or it can also be this concept called a regular expression. Here we have some references to regular expression where we're going to interpret this pattern as either a basic regular expression or an extended regular expression. Well, we may have to, at this point, if we aren't well versed in it, have to either go back to our learning materials or use some web resources to learn a little bit about regular expressions and how those can be used with the Linux grep command. I'm using some web resources to find out more about grep and regular expressions. So we find out that a regex or regular expression is a pattern that matches a set of strings, and in the GNU system, which just stands for GNU's not Unix, the open source version of Unix and Linux, that grep, either basic, extended, or Perl compatible, can be used to search for patterns. And there is, in the website digitalocean.com, a pretty good article on regular expressions. And one of the very interesting things in that article is to remind us about anchor matches. Anchors are special characters that specify where in a line the match must occur. Well, we have in our problem the specification to remove any either blank lines or lines that do not begin with an alphabetic letter. So that would mean a letter at the beginning of a line. So anchored at the beginning of a line. We can see a nice little sentence here about the caret character that is used to anchor the string at the beginning of a line. There are some examples, and if you ever need to anchor at the end of a line, you can see there's a special dollar character to match at the end of a line. So the caret is going to be of special use to us in this problem. We can also look down a bit and learn about bracket expressions. So you can recall that you can use the hard square brackets to specify that a given character needs to be at a certain position, and you can put in a set of characters of which any one of those is valid in that position. Here's the example. If we wanted to match all lines that contained TOO or TWO, then we could specify it in this manner, where the second character position could be W or O. So it would match TW and the third position O, or TO and the third position O. So I am going to take this information back to my command line to carve out the remaining portion of my problem. And here, back at the command line, I've got the cat of Etsy services, carving out that field number 1, which is the service names, sorting, and now I am going to use the grep command along with a regular expression to finish my project. So what do I need to find? I need to find anchored at the beginning of each line. So we're going to use that caret to anchor. And then we want to have a letter between capital A and capital Z, or a small letter A to Z. And for, testing purposes, we'll just page through that at a time to have a glance at it. All right, so far so good. I don't see any of those comment lines in there anymore. Oh, looking pretty good. All right, now I can go ahead and redirect those to my output file. and add back on the technique that I had used previously. And I see I have 347 lines in my output. If I want to do a little bit more deeper level analysis, I can open up that unique services file in the VI editor and maybe even search for a blank line at either the beginning or the end of a line. So let's find a blank at the beginning. Nope, don't seem to find any blanks at the beginning or end of a line. I do see a possible issue here. There is a port number and a protocol that somehow snuck its way past that cut command. So that is something that here's another one. We may have to do a little work on fixing that. So we will inch our way, and work through it all. That's what we always have to test. We always have to examine, because, you know, the first time through is rarely complete success right at the beginning. So the strategy is take little steps and test those, add on some more. So we will work through this. To attack this problem of some apparently extraneous data in our unique services.txt file, even though I've issued this cut with the field 1 here, it seems that some of the white space was due to tabs, and then in some other cases it might have been due to spaces. I'm going to cut a second time, and this time I'll specify the delimiter as explicitly a white space or a space, and we will run this again. We did seem to reduce the number of items in unique services, so let's look at that file a second time, and seems that that extra information at the end of the AFS3-file server is now not there, and so scanning down through the file in its entirety, it does appear that we've cleaned it up. And so here we have our final solution, and our final answer. So you can see that in order to solve a problem in general at the Linux command line, that sometimes you have to take it in little tiny steps at a time, build on that, experiment. Perhaps you're going to have to go back out and use some of the discovery techniques that you've learned across the way. Sometimes it's a search engine through the web browser. Sometimes it's using the man page system. Perhaps you will do some investigation regarding the location of files using the find command or locate. If you can't remember which command does what, remember you have the man-k where you can put in a keyword, maybe even the keyword locate, and find lots of different commands that match that. If the locate command is indeed the one you looking for, find files by name. Perhaps that is what you want, so you can locate find, perhaps, and find all the wonderful locations, not just for the find command itself, but for documentation and package information about that command. If you wanted to just find out information, of course now you have to spell it correctly. If you wanted to find out information on the locate command explicitly, we could find out that the short description finds files by name, and that it is in section 1 of the man page. We can use where is to then find the file hierarchy locations for the command and its X11 location of the source and the manual page information, which again will tell us which actual location runs when we enter locate at the command line. So use everything at your disposal. Don't let little setbacks stump you. Keep pushing through and you will succeed.